People have been asking, what does it cost to build a tiny boat like the River Rat? I always reply that having the tools you need beforehand is essential to keeping the cost of a boat build down. Here is a list of all the tools that I used in the building of the Rat. I sped the video up 8 times for your convenience. Now let's get started. Welcome back, friends. Please show me some love. Right now, hit the like and the subscribe button. First on the tool list is not really a tool, but garbage bags. I used 3 garbage bags for strictly trash. I used at least 8 more as drop cloths while I was painting. The dustpan and dust brush are really handy when both of your shop vacs decide to quit in the same week. Although I'm not going to lie, I do things to my tools that you don't see recommended in the user manuals. Multiple C-clamps were used to hold the transom board in place, so I could level it and bolt it in place. Both the shop vacuums died, so I resorted to the leaf blower. All the piles of shavings that I made while drilling holes in the aluminum were no match for the leaf blower. The massive adjustable wrench was the only tool I have that was big enough to tighten the transom bolts. If I dig around long enough, I might find all my personal protection equipment, or PPE. I use hearing protection, a respirator, gloves for painting, gloves for hot items, and loads of eye protection. I leave safety glasses laying everywhere. There's no reason for me not to use them. There is nothing worse than having a piece of non-ferrous metal stuck in your eye. A magnet will not help you. Having an extension cord is necessary. This is a square with a built-in level. It makes cutting angles a breeze. Leveling a boat for a motor installation is absolutely key to performance. I always start from the ground and work up. I take my long level and tape it to a 2x4. The 2x4 must be as long as or longer than the width between your trailer wheels. I use this level that's attached to the board to check my driveway for a level section to park my trailer wheels on. As long as I'm confident that the trailer is built square, I move directly to measuring the trailer bunks for levelness. If the bunks are level, I move on to the bottom of the boat. I use the area that is the flattest and nearest to the transom. I take several measurements in this area. If the deck is somewhat unlevel, you can take an average of your readings. Whether you're working with a small boat or a large boat, if your floor is not level at this point, more than likely the boat is not sitting center on the trailer and it is leaning towards one bunk or the other. This must be corrected. Finally, you can level and mount your transom and motor. Now, if you've ever done any carpentry, you may have heard someone say, measure twice and cut once. My OCD says measure 4 or 5 times and cut once. Even then, I can still get it wrong. Honestly, I eyeballed all the angle cuts I made on the floorboards located at the V of the hull. Pliers, wire cutters, wire strippers, and lots of screwdrivers. I have a collection of hammers that were used to smash up the shop vacs so I could get the electric motors and the wiring out. Hammers are also useful for removing dents in aluminum boats. I've been told I should get a sandblaster, but until then, the orbital sander is my preference. I used a lot of sanding pads between the trailer wheels, the trailer, the transom board, the floorboards, and the boat. I expect I used at least 250 sanding pads. I did have to patch a couple holes in the River Rat. To patch a hole in aluminum, you can use a process called brazing. This requires a torch, map gas, and brazing rods. I use the piece of rolled up steel wire as a fish tape. I use it to fish wires down gunnels and through firewalls. I use the circular saw for all the woodwork. Having battery-powered tools with enough batteries made this build possible in a much shorter time than using hand tools. You can build a boat with hand tools, but I do not recommend it unless that is all your budget affords or you don't mind the extra time involved. I prefer power tools, such as the battery-powered sawzall, angle grinder, drill, and impact driver. Here's a friendly reminder. Always check your stainless steel hardware. I had a jar of screws in my collection that I thought were stainless steel. I thought I would put them to use on the River Rat. A few days later, I was digging through the tool cart, looking for a part, when I ran into my magnetic bolt tray. Stuck to the magnet was one of the screws from the jar. Stainless steel hardware is not supposed to be magnetic. So, I checked the rest of screws in the jar with the magnet, and they all were magnetic. Fortunately, I had only used about 15 of them, and it didn't take very long to replace them. It definitely could have been worse. The River Rat required no less than 10 paintbrushes and 3 paint rollers. I'm going to upload a video of how to store your dirty paintbrushes until you have time to clean them. Cleaning brushes can be delayed indefinitely. Once cleaned, the brushes are ready to use. Waiting to clean your paintbrushes is a time saver. It's also is nice when you're tired at the end of the day and you just want to go to bed. A good claw tool comes, and handy for picking up all of the stainless nuts, bolts, washers, and screws I dropped through the floorboards. The Coast Guard doesn't require that you heat shrink your electrical fittings, but it is a good practice. It protects the wire conductor from accidental shorting and gives extra corrosion resistance. I use my MAP gas torch on the heat shrinks. It's fast and effective. It requires practice, and definitely wear gloves. We're talking about molten plastic. The caulking gun contains a product made by 3M. It's called 5200. 5200 is the standard for marine-grade caulk. Various scrapers were used in this build, and I'm not trying to leave any tools off the list. If you see me moving around and moving my hands around quickly, it's because I'm throwing away bits of trash. Installing all the nuts and bolts required no less than 2 socket sets, and having a full set of box wrenches was helpful. I used a whole roll of painter's tape and some electrical tape to mark wires. I had to go out and buy 2 new hole saws at $25 each and a box of paddle bits. The electrical wire strippers and crimpers are used to prepare electrical wire for fittings. We're getting to the bottom of the pile now. I'm going to go ahead and list the last few items to speed this up. Needle nose pliers, a couple razor knives, and a full drill set. Here's a picture of the cart all cleaned up. The plastic boxes contain all my drill bit tips. I've always said, take a picture after you clean. It will last longer. Thanks for watching. See you next time.